Hi everybody, I'm live. How you doing? And finally, after it seems an eternity, what I felt like I knew happened. The design team led by HNTB architects with big architects won the competition against Gensler for the right to make a design that has already been released weeks ago of the Oakland Athletics Las Vegas Major League Baseball ballpark. A design that was described to me by a source who is in a great position to know as being crazy. Crazy. And that was 2 weeks before Bill Hornbuckle saw it, and his opinion of it was broadcast as being spectacular. So you have this crazy, spectacular venue that's going to be unveiled to the public finally on Monday. I can't wait. I have tried everything I can think of to locate this these drawings, this rendering, this I don't care if it's a sketch diagram, I don't care if it's a stick figure, I don't care if it's translated pig Latin. I have tried every way I can think of. Different types of ways of searching into websites, different uses of code. I have not been able to turn anything over yet. I'm still trying because I still believe that it's out there. I believe that someone out there has this thing on their server and maybe they didn't code it just right. And so as a result, it's definitely findable and I'm going to find it. That's my attitude. But my attitude aside, what this confirms, the fact that big architects and HNTB won the competition, is that a kind of design ethic that was first advanced by architect Ben Garcia, the creator of the concept Stadium 51, made it into the big architects HNTB design. And that is, it's going to be, well, you heard it, crazy, spectacular. I'll add eye-catching, I'll add provocative, I'll add interesting, and I'll add exciting to that descriptive mix. And that is because it's necessary to do that today in a world where we're always having our heads pulled left to right to gain our attention. That's precisely what this has to do. And it is in a world where Las Vegas is seen as the entertainment capital of the world. Of course, it's got to say, we are a part of that. We intend to be a part of that. And it has to be, and I believe will be, a marker for a new era for the Athletics, not just by dint of locating away from Oakland, but by being a part of Las Vegas and a world entertainment environment. This is the first time, if you think about it, that a Major League Baseball stadium will be built in an area such that it's designed to attract tourists as much as it is designed to satisfy the needs of the local population. That's Las Vegas. Las Vegas has always done that. It has always drawn as many people or more in the past than lived in it. So you're going to get a lot of people who come to the contests from other parts of the world, including the United States, to see their favorite baseball team. You're going to get people who want to do the Las Vegas thing, but take advantage of a brand new special set of rooms that they can get and a meal, dinner, and show combination, if you will, all based around baseball. Never been done before. Now it will be done before. So there's all these possibilities that opened up that even in the Oakland context would not have unveiled themselves in the same way, because Oakland is not known as an entertainment capital. Not to say that it can't be, but look, right now, it's not. And so it's giving way to a city, a region that is. And at the ground level of its next adventure, I'm talking about Las Vegas, where the building designs are going to be, and already are, if you take a look at Las Vegas Sphere, wilder and more grandiose than ever. The experiences more interesting and thought provoking and exciting than ever. And the cost of living going up to levels that have never been seen before because it's so popular. This is the new Las Vegas. And as much as Sphere marks the new Las Vegas, the Oakland Athletics will mark the new Las Vegas even more, a trend that was started with the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. So, and it's built all around sports. All right. Las Vegas will prove that how important sports is to the landscape of economic development in a way that no one else has done. I mean, take a look at this. Okay. Take a look at this stadium. Now, is this what it's going to look like? I don't believe it will be just that. But again, I believe it won't be far off from what Ben has created from the standpoint of someone looking at this and saying, oh my God, this is cool. All right. Oh my God, I want to see this when it's finished. In other words, uttering exclamations not even heard of regarding the first version of the ballpark. I mean, the first version of the ballpark looked like the St. Louis Arch. It was kind of like, and I knew, and I said then that was not the design for anybody that bothered to pay attention to, what I was putting out. I told anyone who would listen or who would not listen that this design, I keep doing that, this design, how about that? That design, okay, that design was the closest to the design, but the design they put out was not it. It was just a placeholder for the Nevada legislature. That's it. They had to have something to get, to get the concept going, get the discussion going, but they deliberately put out something that was non-controversial for the most part. Interesting, yeah. Conceptually provocative, somewhat, but safe, definitely. It was definitely safe. It was boring. All right. It had the arch and nothing else. The design you're going to see on Monday will be not that. It will be more along, it will do for baseball with the Excalibur, New York, and Luxor have done for hotels throughout the world in terms of by their design, but it will be for baseball and will have other amenities. And it may also incorporate within it the ballpark itself. You got it. Hotel rooms. I know that's something Ben was working on in particular concept, and it would not surprise me to see that reflected in this new design for the Oakland Athletics in Las Vegas. I am massively excited and want to congratulate Ben for being the spark of all of this, the unsung hero who ushered Las Vegas into its next generation of development style. What an amazing title to have. Trendsetter, blank disturber, design maven, architectural genius. All right. All of those exclamations and more will be tossed out at Ben after the unveiling of this. And you would say, well, hey, it's big architects going to introduce it, and where will be Ben? But everyone will know, because I'm telling you, everyone will know that this started with Ben. And, it may very well wind up finishing with Ben. One never knows. But my point is, this is as much the triumph of one person as it is a marker of a new phase of the life of the Oakland Athletics. That's just It's true, straight out true. Now, let me talk about some issues here that a number of you have touched on over the time, like, for example, the retractable roof. A number of people tried to make hay with that, saying, well, at 9 acres, it can't be possibly big enough in a whole lot of second. All right. No time has a ballpark ever been developed where its roof was bigger than it. Okay. Let's just get that out of the way. That's not something that's happening. Okay. Your retractable roof can be, well, like a moon roof, a true roof over it that opens a little bit and closes. That it doesn't have to. There's nothing written in any type of ballpark design Bible that says that the roof must cover the entire stadium or even half of it, or that the roof must be of such size that it can't be accommodated by the structure of the stadium, which would be bad engineering, period, without question. There's nothing like that. But you have people who just don't want this to happen for the Athletics that they'll make up anything. They'll just literally throw something to the wall to see what sticks. Look, I get it. My days of being upset that the Athletics were leaving left my brain in 2021 because I focused on trying to have the right answer to make sure the Athletics stayed in Oakland. And the city wasn't willing to listen to me. And frankly speaking, Las Vegas does a better job of listening to people than Oakland does. And Oakland could really gain a lot of lessons from that. But the question is, all that's in the past now. It's in our rear view mirror at this point. What will we expect tomorrow? What will the reaction be? I think you're going to have, I think the most important reaction isn't from the so-called A's fans who are active on Twitter who may have something against John Fisher or something like that. I think the biggest reaction is going to be from the casual person observing who, they don't have time to get involved in the social media mosh. They don't really care about my opinion or yours. They have their own. They just want to see the thing and understand what it's going to look like. Now, I think that they'll be motivated, depending on the design, to actually issue some type of take on social media, and then we'll get our view of where this thing's really going to go. My prediction is that this thing's going to have a awful response, and the people that normally would just sort of sit on the sidelines and go are going to wake up and say, hey, this is something else. Viva Las Vegas. Watch. All right? Watch. Because this is a first. Las Vegas has never had the kind of development that we're talking about, in this case. I keep doing that, and I really mean to do that. But I could just switch them around. But my point is, this is something else. This is like the NFL, but on a lower scale. And someone will say, well, how come there's as much buzz and excitement? Well, it's not as much buzz and excitement simply because, first of all, it's Major League Baseball. Second of all, you're talking about an organization that wasn't winning. If the Athletics had won the World Series, remember how the Oakland Raiders had really performed well in the playoffs, and ultimately, after the move to LA, did become a Super Bowl contender? Well, remember how good those teams were? Remember how the season ticket list was 22,000 strong the year before the Raiders left Las Vegas? All right. We're not talking about any of that in the case of the Athletics. And let's be frank. In 2019, before the attendance really shot and people thought that John Fisher was trying to tank his team, not a lot of people going to the games. And they weren't going because you're talking about a football venue and a team within it that just it didn't provide enough for fans to want to go. And also, they didn't really feel like they were in touch with the players. The last time the Athletics fans were really in touch with players, I go back to Coco Crisp. All right. And I go back to people that were local in the community and were truly made one feel that the A's were rooted in Oakland. But the A's and indeed Major League Baseball over the past, I would say 4 years, has really fallen off in terms of giving jobs to black athletes. It's not a good sign when the majority of your black players are actually Dominican, not American. It doesn't harken back to the glory years of baseball when there were such notables who were African American, like, Reggie Jackson, all right, or Dave Stewart, okay, or Ricky Henderson, all right. And then, of course, Jose Canseco and Bash Brothers. If you want to look at it this way, the pre-internet era. The pre-internet era was all about local team. The pre-internet era was all about hiring great baseball players, especially great black baseball players. Today, that is not the case, and the percentage of Major League Baseball players who are African American is the lowest ever in decades. Decades. I think since 1958. Yeah. You have to go back to 1958 to find a lower percentage. That's horrible. Horrible. And in a society that is rapidly becoming not just majority minority, but also with a healthier percentage of Latino and Black Latino and African American, that's not the mix you want. All right. You want to better reflect your community. And if you're not doing that, they're going to let you know by not coming to your games and not buying your merchandise. And because their incomes don't tend to be as fluid as their white counterparts, guess what? Items not going to automatically fly off the shelves unless you start winning. Unless you have players that they want to play and want to come to see. Okay? That didn't happen. That hasn't happened. And so it's no surprise that baseball has taken the turn that it has. Now, will that fate befall the A's in Las Vegas? Less so because of one thing, the design of the facility. They've got a 3-year novelty window to play with, to which they will get record revenues. All kinds of amazing photographs will be taken from the facility, near the facility, around the facility. People will go to game after game after game after game after game and enjoy it, and they'll be back for more. I'm talking about the hype of this will not be overrated. It will not be overrated. It's the first time it's ever happened. All right? The first time ever it's happened that Las Vegas has a Major League Baseball team. And the response for basketball will be equally as great. It's the birthplace of the new urban area. That's what we're looking at. This is a hallmark example of it. Now, once number of you said, well, John Fisher won't get the same amount of money as everyone is talking about. And if he does, he's not going to use it anyway. And my response to you is that is simply not true. You don't understand that it's difficult to run a modern baseball or modern football or modern hockey or modern basketball organization without 100% access to all the revenue that the NFS has to produce. Why? Because of the dramatic rise in players' salaries since the turn of the 21st century. Since the turn of the 21st century, player salaries have went up 49%. And they took a dramatic jump over the past 6 years. Now, when you're paying out, up the money at that level, all right, and it clouds and it gets to points where it's seemingly astronomical, where a common variety baseball player with, nothing more than a rookie status can live like a king. When it gets to that point, you have the amount of money that you spent to accommodate these players has to go up. The amount of money that is spent to market these players has to go up. The amount of money spent to have a player personnel program has to go up. And they all have to go up with the amount you're paying the player as well. You have special areas for rest, special payments regarding their lifestyles, training. It's a different world when you're paying and attempting to maintain not just a payroll, but a kind of a crucible, or a really not so much a crucible, but a entire vessel of amenities for that player. That has to be done in order to produce a top-notch winning baseball organization. 757 million in the Las Vegas context, not including sports gambling revenues, will do the trick. You say, where is that coming from? All I did was I took the tax revenue estimates that the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority minders produced, and I used the typical math formula where you want to find out what the value of something is that's paying the tax. Okay, so you have two knowns. You have the tax rate, and you have the total amount of money the tax raised. Okay, so you divide that to the tax rate, and voila, you get the amount of money that the taxpayer is making that produces that kind of revenue. And that's where 757 million came from. Now, of course, it was broken down in different segments, and I broke down those segments as well, and then came to that. But I say it this way because I didn't include construction. So the number is actually greater because I didn't include the construction numbers. And you would say, why not include the construction numbers? I didn't do that because it was a one-off. I wanted to make a focus on the actual engine of economic output that is the ballpark itself, by the design of its financial picture. In other words, by how much you're spending within the boundaries and what the rates are and over what period of years. Okay, that's of paramount importance for determining how much money it's going to throw off, because that's also important because it determines franchise value. Why? Because the value of the franchise is 4 times the annual revenue of the facility. 4 times, yeah. For baseball, they used to say it was 2.2, and now it's changed, okay? And so if I go to my handy-dandy calculator here, and I do a little quick figuring, right? And I take 757 million times 4, okay? I'm looking at, bango, this is what I'm looking at. $3.28 billion. Okay, 3 billion. All right, not 280, 3 billion. Yeah, because that would be 30. Yeah, 3 billion 280 million. 280,000. $3,280,000. That's what I'm looking at in that. And so, or if you like 3.28 billion, that's the value of the A's. Or how about just 3 billion? Okay. So as I said, $3 billion. $3 billion. All right? Wow. 3,028,000,000. Whew. 3,028,000,000. So some of you think, oh, he's going to sell right after that. I don't think so. I think he's more inclined to give it or keep it within his family. In fact, why should he sell? Is someone going to give him $6 billion? Right? Maybe he'll do what Mark Cuban did with the Dallas Mavericks after a period of years. Maybe he'll say, hey, you know what? I want to cash, not cash out, but I want to cash. I want to convert. So I go to someone like an Adelson who wants to buy in and for $2 billion. So they get the team, but then the Athletics get the cash they need to continue to grow the organization, which is pretty smart. Overall, the A's are going to be sitting very, very pretty come 2028 and beyond. They'll look like geniuses. And once again, Oakland will be in the position of negatively thinking about its owners, but not taking any action to improve its own lot. And that's why I jumped ship from being on the bandwagon of what the city was doing. Hear my words. What the city was doing. Because the city had not gotten its act together to realize, once again, that Oakland is on someone else's timetable when it comes to the formation of a plan to either keep sports in its city or now bring it into its city. All right. It's facing the same problem on a much smaller scale with the Oakland Roots. Over politicized. The Oakland Roots should be subordinate to the African American Sports Entertainment Group. They're not. The Roots want their own facility. The Roots, God love them, are not as big as they think they are, but they want to be regarded as, I'm just being blunt, this huge organization that is of equal importance to Major League Baseball, that is this scrappy fighter for Oakland, that because everybody else is running away from Oakland, it should be loved and embraced by Oaklanders. And my point is this: that is not a unreasonable argument. Let's be fair, it is not, and does reflect the excitement the Oakland Roots have generated. But the bottom line is the Roots do not have the financial wherewithal to carry that equals what it thinks of itself, to carry that weight. Now, should the city itself buy into part of it? If the Oakland Roots so allow, I think so. But to have an ENA for the Roots and an exclusive negotiating agreement, and then have one for AASEG, and then make promises to them that essentially cause them to overlap, is bad policy. And there's been a lot of bad policy that impacts this. So don't be surprised if the Oakland Roots decide, hey, we're not going to be the Oakland Roots. We're going to be the Hayward Roots, or maybe we'll be the San Jose Roots, or maybe we'll be the San Francisco Roots. That is not outside the realm of possibility. And it's because this was done by politics and not by process. That's why. It started when the Oakland Roots Minders met with Oakland District 7 Councilman Retriever Reed, who then started talking about up soccer, and that's how it came into the fold, and then managed to get themselves into this place where they were the focus of an ENA, but AASEG wanted a situation where it determined what the Oakland Roots, where the Oakland Roots are going to go. That's not exactly the best. So they had an agreement, but the agreement said, "Hey, great, Roots, you're going to be here, but you're going to be outside the building." And I said to Lydia Tam, the real estate representative for the Oakland Roots, that the prized Malibu property they want to be on is the victim, if you will, of rising sea level rates and higher tides. They've already been the victim, talking about the owners of the Malibu Golf and Game site, the Coliseum, of all of these high waters due to rain, improper drainage and a rising sea table, which is projected to continue to rise up to a point around, I would say 10 years from now. 72 inches? Wow. Okay. At high tide. Think about it. That's 72 inches. 72 inches. I think it's, yeah, you're talking about 6 feet. That's an enormous number, folks. That's an enormous number. All right. So, so that's why Dave Cobble, knowing that this problem is going to be out there, I remember he said to me in 2017, "Well, Zenny, I have to spend $400 million here." In other words, he was talking about raising the land of the Coliseum up via a table, if you will, and then building on that table the ballpark. He was not looking forward to the prospect of doing that. Howard Terminal presented a better opportunity to do it, because the land area is smaller to deal with. You're talking about 55 acres to deal with versus 100, arguably several hundred acres. That same several hundred acres is what Miss Tam and Lindsay Barons, the president of Oakland Roots Soccer, were focused on. And hey, what happened? Undoubtedly, Larry Gallegos of the Oakland Department of Economic Development, who has been the point person on these sports development projects of late, including AASCG, told them, well, you know what? I'll bet you he told them two things. First of all, this is a sea level rise problem you have to deal with. Second of all, here's how you're going to have to mitigate it. Third of all, you're going to need an EIR. And I heard somewhere around the buzz that, oh, this is going to cost them $50 million. $50 million they don't even have. And it makes sense. They're building a new stadium there. All right. And it has to have all the necessary safety measures of construction. You can't just throw it up there as really they're proposing to do. And I explained to them that wouldn't work. I hate being right all the time. So where is that in the context of what we're talking about here in the athletics? Okay, first of all, the Athletics Investment Group and its fortunes have nothing to do with the Oakland Roots. All right? Nothing. Except that, well, one can make the argument that if the Roots were interested, or if the A's were actually staying, it would be less likely that the Roots were actually on the property, but that's not true. Because there is a scenario you could actually accommodate the Roots. You have to remember there's no football. All right. And the changeover time isn't so great that there can't be both Oakland Roots soccer and Major League Baseball. There's some who didn't believe that, but you start really looking around at the conversion technology today, you can handle it. It can be handled. All right. But, and you say, well, don't the A's own half the Coliseum? Yeah, they do. They do. But there's nothing in the clause that says they can't sell their half. Okay? In fact, the agreement doesn't say they can sell it with county approval. It's theirs outright. Boom. End of story. It's theirs. It is theirs after they buy it. See, right now, they haven't consummated the buyout. So whenever they decide that they're relocating, then they owe $45 million if they haven't completed the transactions. That's where this is. All right. So let's say the city decides, well, you know what? We won't press them on that. Fine. That's got nothing to do with the A's are still going to go ahead with the Las Vegas effort. The A's, for all practical purposes, will look like a small-time multinational corporation of a sort with land over here on the facility in Las Vegas and land over here in Oakland, both with developments on them. One of them extremely lucrative, okay? And that extremely lucrative one I'm talking about is Las Vegas. Now, the other question is this. When this is finished, when it's open on Monday, which organizations are going to stand up and say, we're all for this and we're happy? I am telling you, each and every tourism organization in Las Vegas is going to stand up, salute as one, and get solidly behind this new structure and the athletics. And that will be when the real clock ticks of the transformation from Oakland A's to Las Vegas A's from 2025 to 2028, led by the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. All right, led by the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. And going over a document trail that, if you watched the Las Vegas Stadium Authority hearings during the Raiders situation, you know how it worked. Lease agreement already produced. Documents regarding the bond issue already produced. Every meeting, a resuscitation of a new document, calling for signature at the end of that agenda item. Boom, solved. And you'll see that process repeated again and 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 again. They may even, for old time's sake, have Jeremy Arguello come up and rattle off one of his famous long paragraphs about a particular item, like non-disclosure, not non-disclosure, but documents regarding the right or the right that they would not have to leave, the non-relocation agreement, which triggers, in the Raiders case, it triggered the minute they got the stadium keys. The minute the Raiders took possession of the keys to Legion Stadium, that, in the way it was written, was when the non-relocation agreement clock started, or controls were in place. Okay. In other words, you can't relocate. This is yours. There was a little clause, though. The only reason this can only happen if there was some, I believe it was financial impropriety or significant damage to the structure, or both. I have to reread that, but it was somewhere along those lines. You know, hey, if you can't use the stadium, it's so severely damaged, you got to have a home. You got to start to square one. I believe it was under that circumstance, and financial improprieties regarding the stadium itself. I'm not certain about that other one. I need to recheck that. That keeps buzzing around in my head for some particular reason. But yeah, condition of the stadium. You got to be able to play in it. Something happens to it. Maybe a meteor, God forbid, strikes it. Could happen, though. While it's uninhabited, Okay. All right. But the bottom line is none of that is going to happen at all. So that's my 40 minutes talking about what to expect with this preliminarily. I'm still on the hunt for those drawings. That's why I was moving the time back, because I was on the hunt to try to find these drawings. By the way, if you're ever in Oakland, take a flower, go over to Horn Barbecue on 2543 Mandela Parkway, put down a rose for its reopening. Someone set fire to that, some vandal, and had one publication of the site is going to take a really racist tack toward it, just writing essentially, hey, they didn't have money for this, they didn't have money for that. Horn Barbecue was started in the middle of a pandemic, the pandemic, and weathered the storm. It had to cut corners a lot. But I know of no one who has wanted to make absolutely certain his employees were whole than Matt Horn. Okay, I say that. So maintain Horn Barbecue. All right. And I will leave you with this. Subscribe to Zenny62 and live long and prosper. I had to move that way to get this thing out of the way. See that the box? All right. More tomorrow, because I'm on the lookout for some drawings, man. I'm looking for a leak. You got one? All right. Take a good look at this on the way out. It's cool. Majorly cool. Congratulations, Mr. Garcia. We'll see ya.